Everything I say is on the website. It's ni6hnt.com. If you click on that, if you click on laptops and you scroll down a bit, you will see every brand laptop, and they all have a mega blog why I might be against some brand or towards a brand. And if you have some questions regarding that brand, I cover that in there. Okay, now we are talking about Acer Predator Helios Neo 16S AI and whatever stuff is there with the 275HX50 70 variant. Okay, so that's the one we are talking about. And immediately just this laptop is incapable of running the 275HX with the 5070. That's it. And I am even not talking about the Intel 275HX, all the Intel new CPUs that are overheating. No, I'm not talking about that. This laptop itself is incapable of running that. All the other laptop, even though they heat, they can still run the CPU and GPU at full power. This one simply cannot. Okay, and it's in a very weird state where it has the name of a Predator, a gaming laptop, but then it's not performing like a full-fledged gaming laptop. Even many reviewers, when comparing a lot of gaming laptop, just ignored this because this does not qualify as a gaming laptop due to the lack of performance. So it's thin, it's light compared to other gaming laptops. Okay, so it's 2.1 kg something. Problem is the charger is in itself 1 kg, and I have already showed you about the PD charging thing. But if I do find that maybe this laptop benefits from a small charger, I will put it here. Okay, I will note it down here, and maybe that can help you in making the decision, because as a full-fledged gaming laptop, this is not the one to get. Simple as that. Okay. Maybe it's for some people who designers, I guess, but AI took your job, so what's the point? But yeah, someone who needs a great display, who's on the go a lot, but the charger will be so heavy that you might as well consider a big laptop. Okay, so that's the let's go into a bit more summary. This is a different take on a laptop. Okay, I just think they should have named it differently. They should not have named it Predator. That's simple as that. They should have given it a new lineup, like some premium laptop. I don't know, Alien. No, Alien, mistaken. Anyways, not my problem. The point is, this should not have the name of Predator lineup, because once you put the name of a premium gaming laptop brand, people expect that sort of performance. So it's a different take on a laptop, sort of a square design, 16-inch laptop. It has been thinned out, expanded, so it's very thin. If you look at this, it's a very thin laptop. Okay, and it's and metallic body all around. It feels pretty premium, just the performance is not premium. OLED screen is a big win. Okay, and thin laptops, but that comes at the cost of performance. CPU performance is the weakest. I wouldn't say weakest, there are a few laptops to launch, but it is the so terrible that the 275HX might as well be a 255HX in performance. When you compare it to other laptops, this 275HX 5070 actually performs like a 255HX 5060. You might you might be thinking here, the CPU downgrade is fine, but why the GPU downgrade? Why is the GPU 5070 not performing to its mark? Because it says 115 watt. Great question. And the problem is the laptop, the CPU of course overheats 104-105 degrees. You will immediately see throttling limited. If you check the Amazon reviews, you will even see that people are complaining of weird stutters, lot of temperature spikes. Most people who do not check the temperature, so they will just report it as while playing CPU heavy games, CS2, Valorant, there is a weird freeze every so often that comes from throttling CPU, because they have put it in turbo mode to get the maximum performance, and you do not do that in this laptop. Okay, this laptop when you try to run this laptop in a reasonable sound and reasonable temperature, total CPU plus GPU wattage has to be limited to 120 watt. If you push it to 130 watt, immediately problem starts showing up. So the complete power that this laptop needs to have is 120 watt, and when you do a stress test for both, CPU merely runs at 35 watt or the GPU runs at 85 watt. In some scenarios CPU might take a bit less, GPU might take a bit more. That's the reason why the 5070 on this performs like a 5060. Everything points to the fact that the 275HX 5070 is should never have been put in this chassis, and I ideally should have tested the 255HX 5060, which I will do next. That needs to be checked. I was thinking that maybe someone who needs, but this laptop is for no one, because if the same Predator's 255HX 5060 exists, why not get that? Because this clearly cannot perform like as its own. What's the point of just having the number 275HX if it's not performing like that? Very important questions if you're considering to buy this. Only reason to buy this laptop, if the price of this particular laptop, the 275HX 5070, comes down to other lower tier laptops which have a 255HX, either the 8940 or 8945HX, or a better CPU with a 5060. So if there are other premium laptops from other brands with these specs, 255HX, one tier down CPU, and 5060 with an OLED screen, prefer that instead of getting this. Okay, this is the only point when you should consider it, when its price is lower than other 255HX or 8940HX with a 5060. That is the only time you should consider it. This is Acer as a brand. I really don't want to get into this because I have already covered it in other blog, but there are a lot of reasons not to buy an Acer laptop in particular. Okay, moving on. Fan sounds, yeah, this is major con. Fan sound is irritatingly loud. Okay, of course it's loud, but the high pitched whine that you will hear from this metallic fan, because it is a thin laptop, the fan has to move fast, is irritating. Laptop fans usually sound a lot. It's fine, but it's sort of a whoosh usually what you hear from gaming laptop, and you can mindlessly ignore that. Okay, after a while you get used to it. It doesn't really matter, because that's the sound of big fans moving around. It doesn't matter. However, in this laptop, due to the thin blade design and all that, it sounds, it's it's in the differences a lot of it, but it is irritating. It is so irritating that I put that you should run this laptop at 120 watt total or the performance mode, never go to the turbo mode. That's the reason for that. The sound is irritatingly loud, and this is one reason you might not even consider this laptop. But here is the thing: if you run it limited to 120 watts in performance mode, do not go to turbo mode, it's fine, it's all right. You never hear that, it's fine. Anyways, body is metallic throughout, very good. The problem is there is not a lot of strength. I don't know how they did that with a metallic body, but that's it. Twisting it, the screen, the body, it doesn't feel that sturdy, even though it's metallic. Polish is fine, metal is all around. But yeah, oh, I should add one. If your house is not properly grounded, the third pin in your house, if it's not grounded, any metallic laptop, not just any metallic laptop, will shock you. Just to be clear, okay? Many MacBook users who first come to India and use the laptop here, they get shocked all the time, and they are very confused. And the reason for that is where they are using the laptop, it's not grounded, or Apple has put in a 2-pin adapter that does not have a third pin, so no grounding can happen. Ignore that, what I said. Point is, if your house is not grounded, any metallic laptop will shock you, even any other metallic electronic device. It is mandatory to prop this laptop up while gaming, okay? Even though it has a rubber feed, there is a sort of ventilation, but it is mandatory. You put something behind, even the charger included with it, you put something behind to prop the laptop up a bit. Otherwise the GPU is always limited. CPU is always limiting, hitting its thermal limits anyways, but the GPU gets limited. There's an extra thing that I will confirm after you buy this. Let's go into pros and cons. Maybe this will transfer into the other video that I'm going to do. The 255HX 5060 body is very thin, plenty of ports, 5 USB port, even a micro SD card slot. Okay, not the full size but the micro SD. Rare feet at bottom is not something you give, but it has good resistance, so it won't just slip off. And laptop can be opened and closed with one hand. So a lot of things good about the body. Bottom is also made of metal, large intake fans, no sharp edges. Laptop weighs just 2.15 kgs, which is light considering it's a 16-inch laptop. CPU out of the box is set to 85 to 140 watt. Since single core performance doesn't require a lot, single core performance is good, simple as that, because that doesn't require a lot of stuff. So single core performance is comparatively pretty good. If you compare, it will be a lot higher than the 8940HX that I told above, but around the 255HX or the 9955HX. GPU 5070 is a full power 5070 at 151, but as I said earlier, it cannot always utilize it. Display great, narrow bezel, 100% DCI, P3, all the bells and whistle, 240 Hz, 1600p 16-inch OLED. Of course OLED is reflective, so I should put that in caution. Alright, I have added it above. Anyways, it is an OLED display, and a very rare OLED displays are not reflective. This one is very reflective. So I have written it here. So mainly use is indoor, and even in indoor you have to make sure that the laptop does not have a direct light. Point is, you will have to adjust your position wherever. If you ever plan to use this laptop on the go, you will have to adjust your position quite a bit, but I think that's the trade you make when you get an OLED laptop. Okay, 2 RAM and 2 SSD slots. Brightness, it says, is 400 nits. Typically is 400 nits. In HDR content it can go up to 500 nits, but point is, it's an OLED glare display, so you cannot just compare it to an IPS. IPS will feel brighter even at the same nits. Point is, it might not feel you as bright if you try to use it outdoors. That's all I'm saying. 2 of RAM and 2 upgrade slot, that's fine. Neutral stuff. Keyboard is pretty good, feels pretty good. Touchpad's tactile feedback is pretty good. It's not included. SSD has great speed, and it has, what do you call that, thermal compound something on it, so temperatures are fine. Camera and microphone is usable. Logo on the back of the laptop lights up. RGB keyboard, forget battery life, it's not going to happen. Laptop can't be opened, but if I do find someone who actually does test it with all the advanced setup, lowering refresh rate, disabling turbo, lowering performance, a lot of things, if anyone does this, I will add how much you can realistically get, because that is who will actually get this laptop. Laptop can't be opened to the full 180 degrees. Some people who tend to use the laptop in upright position to get it close to their screen, like me. Okay, I know it's a very weird case, but just know that. Large arrow keys and no large 0 numpad key, so it's alright. I think you will get used to it. It doesn't matter. Power key is on the keyboard. Anything happens to the power key, in the long run you will have to replace the whole keyboard. Laptop sound is sort of muffled and cardboard boxy sound. Okay, so make whatever, there are bigger problems with it, let that be. Rest area gets slightly warm, so not the WSD key, just below that it gets slightly warm during was, that is I guess expected. No cons. So I think I already talked about this. Fans have high pitched irritating sound. Okay, even though it's low sound, it is irritating, and it's not the acceptable whooshing sound, so this might be a huge deal breaker for a lot of you people. Please find review of the laptop while running in fan mode to check that out. But as I said, if you put it in what's the mode, just below turbo performance mode, it's fine. At the cost of performance, of course. Some bad things about the build: rigidity of the device is quite poor. Even though it's metallic, it does not have that strength and twists easily and makes creaking sounds when you do that. Hinge is a little loose, body is just a bit too soft. So that's what I'm saying. Yeah, it will be very confusing, it's metallic but it's not sturdy. Yeah, I know, me too. I guess that happened because in trying to make the laptop thin, they removed a lot of the reinforcement that are usually put inside a laptop, extra metallic thing that do not do anything but just provide support. I think in trying to do that, they just removed, I guess. Anyways, CPU has a lot of cons, and we are excluding the Intel stupid things that has started to happen. Okay, so the 275HX performs 22% better in other laptops compared to this, at a point that you might just call this a 255HX. Even the 8940HX performs 11% better than this. This is unheard of. 8940HX always performs lower than 275HX, but on this laptop it performs better. However, we are talking multi-core scores here. Single core, that will still be better. 275HX. 9955HX is just way better. 275HX being an Intel CPU, so it drops 88%. So this is a different thing. So that is like overall performance, and here we are talking about what happens if you run it in a short boost, which will boost the benchmark scores too high, but in the long run you will not get that much performance. So it's in Intel Quark. It drops to about 88% of its performance when you see it initially. If you run it right away for a few seconds, you will get, like, if you get 100% performance, in a few minutes you will get 88% of its performance. So that's one more thing. Taking even long term, so now if we take the long term into account, then the CPU performs, compared to the laptop, 25%. Other laptops perform 25% better. If you do not take long term into account, just the short term, then 22%. Point is, CPU doesn't 275HX is not for this. 275HX heats a lot. Alright, but let's just make that very clear. It heats a lot in every laptop, not just this laptop. Okay, in every laptop it heats a lot. And most people just check the average CPU temp. Whenever someone says this laptop is cold, please ask them to show the package temperatures. Okay, that's where the real things are hiding. Now, in CPU heavy games, okay, CPU heavy games like CS, Valorant, the CPU will keep hitting 100, close to 100. Okay, and 1% close. Okay, this is what you will see in reviews. If you go on Amazon reviews and wherever you are checking the reviews of this laptop, you will keep saying that people are complaining about stuttering, freezing every few often, and that happens because the 1% are too low, or since the CPU heats up a lot, it lowers its performance drastically, and that feels weird. You can get rid of it, just run the laptop at a lower performance mode, as I said earlier. Okay, it's not that a big deal. Point is, you are not getting. Point is, if you run CPU heavy games, you will have to drastically limit it beyond what I said earlier, 255HX 5060. Beyond that, you will have to lower the performance. So I guess, anyways, for some weird reason, oh yeah, I guess I said this. Now we are talking about GPU heavy games. Even it can't beat the ROG Strix 255HX 5060, and the Legion Pro 7 with the exact specs is 32% faster, even though that is also a thin laptop. Same behavior is repeated with Delta operation, and in just enabling DLSS is not a solution. It brings its other weird issues, like if you try to enable DLSS in Battlefield, there is a lot of stuttering, a lot of jitterness. You cannot play with DLSS, at least in these FPS games. Even though these games that I talked are mainly GPU heavy, the thermal throttling CPU somehow causes the GPU to also throttle, and that is the reason 5070 5060. Okay, the reason I put it here is because people shouldn't assume, you know what, oh, my game is AAA, it doesn't need that much CPU performance, it will be fine. Even if the CPU is everything, no, it will not be fine. The CPU can limit the GPU if it's not performing really. Yeah, specs, everything. So with 275HX R23, here it's 30,000. Other laptops it can go up to 37,000. R15 drops up to 12% of its performance. Other reviews, every data is here. Data is 1 point. Yeah, here I guess this is what I want to show. 1% is quite low compared to the average uh, FPS, and that matters in CPU heavy game. That happens in CPU heavy games a lot. It also happens in some GPU heavy games. Anyways, that's not the point. So I guess I added, didn't I summarize everything in the, yeah, I summarized everything earlier. Should you buy this laptop? Check if there are other laptops with 255HX 5060 or 8940. Okay, let's say 9955HX to outbid this. So 275HX 5060 OLED. If there are other laptop, prefer that. 8940HX or 9955HX with a 5060, if it's available, prefer that. Okay, with OLED of course, because you're getting this for OLED. If not, if this is like the cheapest, this 275HX 5070 is the cheapest laptop, even cheaper than other 5060, 8940HX or 225HX laptops, you might consider it. Just know the temperature thing and heavy charger thing. If I do find someone actually testing with a PD charger, I will of course update the website. As I say all the time, check the website, it is updated. If I make a mistake, I update it on the website first. I add a pinned comment, but if there is a lot of changes, it's on the website. So check the website, it will save your time also.